1. The Patient Little Girl. Once a famine broke out in a country. Every day the children of the city flocked at a rich man's house to get loaves of bread. As soon as the servants brought out loaves, they fought among themselves and struggled hard to get them. One little girl did not fight. She waited patiently for her turn and got the smallest loaf last of all. One day, as usual, she brought the smallest loaf. When she cut it, she found 2 rupees in it. She went back at once to return the money. The rich man was pleased at her honesty. He gave her not only those 2 rupees, but 2 rupees more as a reward. Moral: patience brings its own reward. 2. The Milk Maid. A milkmaid was carrying a pail of milk on her head and was to market to sell it. As she went along, she fell into daydreaming. She thought that she would buy eggs with the money she got by selling milk. After the eggs were hatched, she would have a large number of chickens. They would fetch her high price. She would then buy fine silk dress for herself and look more beautiful. Princes would come to marry her, but she would toss her head and refuse them. While thinking so, she did really toss her head in false pride. Down fell the pail on the ground. The whole milk was split and all her plans came to naught. Moral: count not your chickens before they are hatched. 3. The Arab and His Camel. An Arab had a camel. One cold night the Arab lay asleep inside the tent, while the camel stood outside. At midnight the camel awoke his master and requested him to allow him to put his head inside the tent as it was bitter cold outside. The Arab allowed him to do so. After a while, the camel asked the Arab if he might put his neck inside the tent. The Arab did not object to do it. Soon after, the camel requested him again to allow him to bring his legs inside. The Arab agreed. Now the camel stood completely inside the twit. But as there was not space enough for both of them, he pushed the Arab outside to shiver in cold. Moral: nip the evil in the bud. 4. The Selfish Dog. A farmer had an ox and a dog. The ox helped him in his fields, and the dog watched the house at night. One evening the ox returned home very tired. He was very hungry. He went to the manger to eat hay. But he found the dog sitting on it. The dog barked at him and would not let him eat it. The ox said to the dog, "Please, get aside and let me eat the hay. It is of no use to you." But the 4-natured dog replied, "Since I myself cannot eat the hay, I will not let anyone else have it." So the ox had to go hungry that day. There are some selfish people in the world also. They would not let others have what they themselves cannot get. They follow the dog in the manger policy. 5. The Dog and the Donkey. Once there lived a Herman in the town. He had 2 pets, a dog and a donkey. The dog used to keep watch. The donkey used to carry the washerman's clothes all load. One night a thief broke into the house. The Herman was sleeping soundly. The dog too was fast asleep. So he did not bark at the thief. The donkey saw the thief and wanted to awaken his master. H6 began to bray loudly. The thief took to his heels, ran away. The wise Herman could not sleep. He came out. Wise Herman could not understand why the donkey brayed so loudly. Therefore he beat the stupid but dutiful donkey very badly. But the washerman's house was saved. It was the duty of the dog to keep watch and not of the donkey. Moral: mind your own business. 6. Bad company. A rich man had only one son. The son fell into the bad company. He developed many bad habits. The man was much worried about the habits of his son. He tried his best to mend his habits, but he could not succeed. One day, he thought of a plan to teach his son a lesson. He went to market and purchased some fresh apples and a rotten one. He came back to his home and called his son. He asked his son to put all the apples along with the rotten one in the almirah. The son did the same. After some days, father asked his son to bring the apples. As he opened the door of almirah, he was surprised to note that all the apples had become rotten. He felt sad. At this, his father told him to see how one rotten apple had spoiled all the rest. In the same way, one bad companion could spoil all others. The father's advice had the desired effect. The boy gave up bad company and became good again. Moral: better alone than in bad company.